Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're going on this really fascinating journey to literally rewire your brain. If you're learning English, you've probably realized by now that the language has a few, well, let's just call them quirks. Right? Hey everyone, so today our main goal is to fix 10 of the absolute most common mistakes that beginners make. And hey, even if you consider yourself more intermediate or advanced, this is literally the perfect opportunity to test yourself. We're going to build a rock-solid foundation and make sure you're speaking with absolute confidence. So, get ready to focus, because we are about to clear up some major confusion.
Okay, let's dive into this. We've broken today's explainer down into a quick 5-part curriculum. We'll be tackling tricky verbs in agreement, expressing age in relationships, mastering confusing word pairs, navigating quantities and counting, and finally, pronunciation and silent letters.
Right, so kicking things off with Section 1, tricky verbs and agreement, getting the basics right. It's actually super common to trip up right at the starting line, because some of the most frequent errors in English happen with just simple everyday actions.
Let's test your instincts right off the bat here. Which of these two sentences is correct? Is it, he goes to school every day, or he go to school every day? I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. 3, 2, 1. If you chose he goes to school every day, boom, you nailed it. So the absolutely crucial point here is this. When we have a singular subject, like he, she, or it, we absolutely have to add an S to the end of the verb. I know this kind of confuses a lot of learners because usually an S in English means plural, like cats, right? But for verbs with a singular subject, that S is mandatory. And hey, this exact same rule applies when we make the sentence negative. You'd literally never say he don't like pizza, you've got to say he doesn't like pizza.
Let's move on to our next tricky verb mistake, and you'll see how this kind of builds on what we just talked about. Take the word agree. So many beginners mistakenly say, I am agree with you. But wait, agree is a standalone verb. It's an actual action, right? It's not an adjective describing your state of being. So you just simply say, I agree. You totally don't need to add that to be verb in front of it. And, thinking back to our rule from the last slide, if the subject is she, it naturally becomes, she agrees with your idea.
Okay, let's actually practice this. I want us to read these examples out loud together. Using those pronunciation muscles actually helps actively rewire your brain. Ready? He goes to school. I agree with you. He doesn't feel good. Awesome job.
And that brings us right into Section 2, expressing age and relationships, making it personal. We talk about our age and the people we love all the time, right? Which makes getting these specific phrases right incredibly important for just everyday conversation.
Let's do another quick check. How do we correctly talk about our age in English? Is it, I have 25 years, or I am 25 years old? Let's take 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
The correct answer is I am 25 years old. Now, in a lot of languages, you'd use the verb to have to express age, kind of like you physically possess those years. But English strictly uses the to be verb for age. For example, the instructor from our source material notes that right now she is 37 years old, and soon she will be 38 years old. We always say I am, you are, or my brother is when talking about age. Never ever use have.
And this brilliantly illustrates another fixed relationship phrase that honestly causes so many headaches. Take the phrase, he is married to Sarah. Guys, this is the only correct way to say this. Beginners often try to translate directly from their native language and they'll say married with, but in English the fixed phrase is always to be married to someone.
Time to exercise those pronunciation muscles again. Let's really cement these correct phrasings by reading them out loud together. Here we go. I am 37 years old. She is married to John. They are married to each other. Great work. Honestly, just hearing yourself say it correctly is half the battle.
Moving right along to Section 3, mastering confusing word pairs, choosing the exact right word. English has quite a few words that look or sound so incredibly similar, or they translate so closely that they just constantly trip people up.
Here's an exceedingly common one. Imagine you went out this weekend and just had a great time. Would you say the party was so funny or the party was so fun? Take 3 seconds to think on that. The answer is the party was so fun. This is such a huge distinction in English. Funny is strictly reserved for things that literally make you laugh out loud. A comedy movie is funny, a good joke is funny. But if something is simply a great time or just really enjoyable, like a party, a vacation, or hey, hopefully this explainer, we use the word fun.
Oh, here's another pair that causes endless trouble. Bored
versus boring. So bored is an internal feeling, right? It's how you feel inside when you've got nothing to do. But boring describes the external thing that's actually causing you to feel that way. Like a terrible movie is boring. Hopefully it's not true about this explainer, but you would honestly say, I am bored if a situation is boring. Oh, and you definitely never want to say, I am boring, because that literally means you are a dull person to be around.
Okay, let's tackle Section 4, Navigating Quantities and Counting, much versus many. Knowing how to properly ask about the amount of something is just totally vital, whether you're cooking, shopping, or just having a normal conversation.
Let's test those instincts again. You need to know the quantity of fruit someone has. Do you ask, how much apples do you have? Or how many apples do you have? Let's take a few seconds to decide.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it perfectly divides the physical world into two categories, countable and uncountable. See, you use many for things you can physically count one by one. You can count 1 apple, 2 apples, 3 apples. So you'd ask, how many apples do you have? But can you easily count individual water droplets in a glass or individual grains of sugar? No way. For things that basically act as a single uncountable mass, we use much, like how much water do you have or how much sugar do you have?
And just like that, we've reached our final section, Section 5, Pronunciation and Silent Letters, Seeing the Unseen. This is where we look at the tricky ways English words are spelled on the page versus how they actually sound when spoken out loud.
Take the word HOP. Because of a very long, super complicated linguistic history in the English language, the E at the end of this word is totally silent. We pronounce it hope. We definitely do not pronounce it hope-y. The exact same thing goes for words like make. You honestly just have to accept that sometimes the letters are there purely for decoration.
And then, well, we have words that trick your brain into reading them literally. Take comfortable and vegetable. I mean, they both clearly contain the word table right there in the spelling, right? But we do not say comfort table or vegetable table. Native speakers get kind of lazy and just reduce the sounds, entirely dropping whole syllables. We literally crunch it down to comfortable and vegetable.
Let's do one final round of active speaking out loud to really master dropping those syllables and ignoring those pesky silent letters. Read these with me, nice and clearly. I hope so. I feel comfortable. I like to eat vegetables. If you can say those smoothly, I promise you're sounding much more like a native speaker already.
By going through this explainer and actually practicing out loud, you've successfully rewired your brain today to avoid 10 of the most stubborn beginner mistakes. You've built a much stronger foundation for clear, confident conversation. But English is a massive, constantly evolving puzzle. You've mastered these 10 rules, but it makes you wonder, what other sneaky English rules are out there hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered? Keep practicing, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.